Patriots usually do. And I do think Jamie Collins will negate any run by Lamar Jackson. I don't see a strong enough game plan here from the Ravens to knock off this Patriot team. And honestly,
will add this one caveat, and I know Belichick game plans for the unexpected. Harbaugh, remember, was hired as a special teams coach, was his previous position before he became a head coach. He is not an offensive coordinator. He is not a defensive coordinator. But he is known for having the offense put in some type of gadget or trick play that they haven't run all year, right around this point of the season, going into the home stretch. And they've done it every single season for the last couple of years. This is probably the game where they throw something at the Patriots that no matter how much preparation you all do, and don't get me wrong, you're one of the more well-prepared teams in the league, that just catches you off guard. The only problem is, will they be able to execute it?
I will tell you this too, James. If the Patriots were to drop this game, they go into the bye week angry to face.
I know, and the next team they play is Philadelphia.
so you
very
may not want
to schedule, because guess what, Todd? We go after Chicago into the bye week and come and stay at home waiting for you all. So yeah, we'll both be coming out of the bye to play each other. No advantage.
Yeah. All right.
Only injury news for this game. Baltimore Ravens have placed Iman Marshall and Tavon Young, cornerbacks, both of them on injured reserve. And for the Patriots, you pretty much already went over everything. I do want to bring up 3 players, though. Actually 5. Starting with receivers N'Keal Harry and Josh Gordon. How much of Mohamed Sanu do we see in the action this week?
I think we'll see the exact same amount that we saw last week, except it'll be better. He'll have another week in the system. He'll feel a little bit more comfortable with what the game plan is. And he did all right, but there was definitely a lot of forcing the ball to Sanu last week, which is something the Patriots like to do to try and get him more comfortable with the system as they move along. I don't think we'll see Gordon or N'Keal Harry in this game.
No, they're both listed as injured reserve. Tight ends Izzo and Lacoste.
That's interesting to me because they did cut Eric Tomlinson, which seems to signify to me that one of the two will be back. They'll be minimal in terms of an impact on this game.
So Ben Watson gets to start again.
Right.
And guard Shaq Mason.
Again, you talked about the interior pass rush. That is obviously the way to get Brady off his spot. That's the way you shake things up. Ferentz did pretty well against Cleveland. Marcus Cannon did okay against Myles Garrett. I'm not going to say he did great, but he did good enough.
Myles Garrett.
And it's Myles Garrett. You're looking at Brandon Williams, Michael Pierce, Chris Wormley, Jason Ferguson. None of these guys necessarily invoke fear in terms of the guys that we'd have on the offensive line.
Is it safe to say that Shaq Mason might be the weak link of that offensive line?
No, Shaq Mason is the strength of that offensive line. So him being gone does make the offensive line much weaker.
And it's funny that you say that because it was him who got bulldozed by Brandon Graham in that game in February a couple of years back for that strip sack.
You hush your mouth. I think that's enough.
What do we got for Monday night?
Monday Night Football, and quite honestly, we did spend a lot of time on that game, but it is the game of the week. We have the Dallas Cowboys 4-3, the New York Giants 2-6. Cowboys are 11th in the power rankings. The Giants are 26th. And I'd also like to point out, I didn't mention the Patriots really at all this show until we got to the Patriots game.
Good for you.
Cowboys are favored by 7. We're both taking the Cowboys. I will just add, for all that's been said about Dak Prescott, and is he a franchise quarterback? Isn't he? Whatever. He owns the Giants. I mean, he literally owns them. His past 5 starts versus the Giants, he is 5-0 with 1,552 passing yards. That's 310 yards per game, 13 touchdowns, no picks. He aims for his 3rd in a row by the way, with 385 plus passing yards and 4 touchdowns against the Giants. And by the way, the Cowboys are coming off their bye. I mean, I could lock in the Cowboys, except you never lock in a divisional game like this.
That's the only reason I didn't.
but we're both going with the Cowboys. Just so that we can hear something that's a little bit different than what we would say. Here's what Jared has to say. Welp, Giants are restocking a healthy D-line with more D-line to stop the run. What does this mean for games 1? Not much. What does it mean for Zeke's rushing numbers? Probably a good deal. Expect Zeke to get the bulk of his yardage from passes. Giants could win this matchup, but hopefully Trashcott plays well so he gets signed long-term, and the Giants lose to preserve top 10 pick in the draft. Saquon is going to feast and make the Cowboys look silly in at least a few plays. He does that to literally everyone. DJ is going to have like 5 amazing throws and then 1 stupid blanking dumbass throw for a critical interception. Expect this game to be heated at many points. Hopefully a punch gets thrown somewhere. Reffing will be atrocious. And there'll be yet another, oh my God, are these refs literally blind moments? Cowboys should control time of possession the whole game. It'll be a pretty clean win. Cowboys 27, Giants 18. That actually was that was rather well stated there by Jared. It wasn't crazy at all.
Except for the part where he said the line will force Zeke to get most of his yards through passing. No.
Yeah.
That's the only knock. Zeke has owned the Cowboys. This is one of the teams in the division that he just pretty much is like, oh, you guys have 7 defenders in the box. Let me eliminate you right now.
And as I mentioned, Prescott has, in the last 2 games that he has played against the Giants, has more than 385 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. That sounds to me like a DFS play if I ever heard one, except he's on Monday night, so it doesn't really do us much good unless you're just playing a Monday night game.
Yeah. I've got nothing to add to that. The Cowboys, I mean, look, last I saw them, they were still throwing up points on the Eagles on Sunday Night Football 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, and we supposedly are a better defense than the Giants. So, hey, Dallas, do me a favor. Go for 50 on the Giants. That's all. I mean, look, Dak, Zeke, that's really much all they need on offense. I don't think there's anybody at secondary who can cover Amari Cooper. Witten with underneath catches should sustain drives. On the flip side, Dallas's defense, albeit it was us the last time they came out and, for the most part shut us down, I need to see more from them because the stink of the Jets game still lingers on them. And how you lose to the Jets and then turn around the next week and beat the Eagles, and I know football is an any given Sunday game, but there are just certain things that should not happen. That's one of them.
Well, what do we got on the injury report on this one?
For Dallas, Leighton Vander Esch has a neck injury. Robert Quinn is nursing ribs, both listed as questionable. For the Giants, Sterling Shepard, questionable, and cornerback Corey Bellantine is also questionable. But again, cornerback, secondary, New York, doesn't matter who's back there. They have nothing.
There had been rumors that Nate Solder was on the trade block. Both my son and I were like, we would take Nate Solder back. Come on. Come on home, Nate. Come on home, Nate. But yeah, this is pretty straightforward game. Not really much here to see. As mentioned before, Atlanta, Cincinnati, the Rams, and the Saints are all on the bye. Atlanta is 28th in the power rankings, Cincinnati 31. They were one of the teams that got a last place vote. The Rams are 12th in the power rankings, and the Saints are currently number 2. Drew Brees and that rebuilt thumb looked pretty good.
Yeah, he did. And even though I mentioned it on Sunday's recap, I still would have held him out for this game just as a precaution. There was a throw, I want to say second or third quarter he made where he pretty much took a hit on that same hand. So a little scary moment there in the game. He came back. Everything worked out. They got the W. It's all good. Sticking in that division, though, mentioning the other team on the bye this week, the Falcons. this being their bye week, and considering I live in Atlanta, I will be keeping an eye on what happens with the squad. I know MJ will as well, our Falcon super fan. They did cut their kicker on Monday after the game on Sunday, which I don't understand because the problems with this team and this organization run a lot deeper than the kicker, and cutting him for missing, half of his 50-yard field goals. One, the offense should never be in a position to make him kick 50-yard field goals. And two, he's 44 years old. Even Adam Vinatieri is struggling this season.
Younghoe Koo is your kicker, and I forgot to mention the Patriots also cut their kicker, Mike Nugent, who's been filling in for an injured Gostkowski, and they signed Nick Folk, who was previously in the AAF kicking 55-yard field goals in the AAF. Still, there's a reason Nick Folk wasn't in the NFL. He's got, I don't get it with the kicking issues this year. Everybody's got kicking issues. We talked a little bit about the Bears. Listen, I've always been one that believes in being aggressive when it comes to the end of the game. Do not play for a field goal. You should be playing to get a touchdown at all points in the game. When you play for a field goal, you're playing to lose. And ultimately, that's what he did. He decided to play for the field goal. They missed the field goal of all teams to play for a field goal. Why would the Chicago Bears play for a field goal? They should know better.
They should. But that's what they chose to do. And what makes that decision even worse, they had 1st and 10 from just inside the 20, 21-yard line, 40 seconds left. Jay, correct me if I'm wrong. The math tells me you should be able to run at least 3 plays to try to pick up another 10 yards or so to make the field goal closer.
I believe they had 3 timeouts still, too, James. I know they had at least 2. I know they had at least 2.
It was 2.
Okay.
It was 2. And I understand you want to hold one just in case, but 40 seconds, 2 timeouts, 1st and 10 around the 20-yard line. Why are we running 40 seconds off the clock to kick the field goal? Now, the Chargers were the ones who had no timeouts.
Yeah,
they couldn't stop the clock. Yeah, but that made no sense.
They had plenty of time to run a play, and they didn't. And it didn't make any sense whatsoever. But that's what it is this year in the NFL. Lots of questionable calls, lots of young quarterbacks. There's not a lot of room to be a quarterback in the league next year, unless some guys end up retiring, and even then, there's not really a lot of room.
With these kicking woes continuing on top of all of that, in the offseason, a lot of teams will have signs for the U.S. women's soccer team, free Carly Lloyd.
I agree. I discovered recently why Carly Lloyd would not make a fit for the New England Patriots. She's an Eagles fan.
So you're saying she's perfect?
No, I'm not saying she's perfect at all. Not in the least bit. But that's why she's not going to end up in New England, especially when she was on the NFL 100 talking about that Super Bowl victory of yours. All right.
What was wrong with that?
Nothing. She was just gushing. She was
of
gushing.
Course she was. One of the greatest moments in the history of the NFL.
I wouldn't go that far. But
actually, it was. I mean, that game finished, 11th on the top 10 list, top 100 list of NFL games of all time?
Stop it, James. You just stop it right now. Nextfanup@gmail.com is how to get in touch with us, especially if your name is Sybil Faulty. You can get in contact with us there and join us next week on this particular podcast at NFU Podcast on Twitter, Facebook.com/NFU Podcast. There's also another way you can contact us on social media. Until next week, I am PodVader. He is James. And now that Andy Dalton's lost his job, I guess I got to find another guy to finish out the show, huh?
Absolutely.
Well, in the meantime, Andy, at least you can still do this. There you have it.
I never even heard his interview, so I don't know the context in which it was said. I don't know what he said before. I don't know what he said after. So I still haven't seen it. I'm not going to watch it. I don't care, But, I've got no ill will towards Jay. There's no feud between me and Jay. I think we lost the game. He said what he said, and we're moving on. That's in the past now.